Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video we're going to be doing another game review video. Talking about the 14 games that played on Thursday, the 2 games that played yesterday, looking ahead to this weekend's games, plus looking at the standings, and we have one more team who has hit the 20 game mark, leaving only one team left who has not hit the 20 game mark as of yet. With all of those coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the DET and TOR channel. Before beginning this video, don't forget to like this video, and if you're out there, remember to subscribe down below. We are so close to 100 subscribers. Thank you for all of your support. I'll never be able to do this over you guys, so don't forget to subscribe. Now, I got a lot of things to discuss in this video. We got to preview the next upcoming games for the weekend. We got to take a quick look at the standings. The Washington Capitals have hit the 20 game mark, but first we're going to be looking at the game reviews from the past couple of days. So there was a lot of good games over the past couple of days. We had 14 games on Thursday, with 2 games playing on yesterday, on Friday. So we'll start with the 14 games that played on Thursday. There's a lot of great action. We'll start here with the Boston Bruins and San Jose Sharks. Going into this game, the Boston Bruins had been losing 3 straight. The Sharks had won back-to-back games. And this one was a Bruins win. I was expecting the Bruins to sort of come away with the victory here. I think they really needed this one after losing 3 straight in regulation. And they were able to shut out them 3-0. Bruins improved to 15-4-3. Sharks dropped to 5-16-2. Bruins were able to get Zacha having a goal and an assist. Pastrnak had 2 assists. And Heinen and Nebraska also scored for the Bruins in the win, with Swayman stopping all 26 shots he faced in the loss. So I'm not overly surprised that this happened. Bruins are a lot better of a team than the San Jose Sharks. And even though the Bruins were on a bit of a losing streak at that point in time, I definitely think the Bruins are a better team than the Sharks. So Sharks' 2-game winning streak came to an end, Bruins' 3-game losing streak came to an end, and the Bruins were able to improve in their division and get a much-needed win. So very good stuff there for the Boston Bruins. A really complete effort by both Swayman and the Bruins offense. Then we had the New Jersey Devils play Philadelphia Flyers. Jersey nearly blew a 2-goal lead, but recovered and won 4-3 in overtime over the Philadelphia Flyers. It was a very fantastic game for the New Jersey Devils. Jack Hughes continues his tour pace this start of the season with a 3-point goal and 2 assists. Toffoli had a goal and an assist. He sure had 2 assists. And Holtz and Luke Hughes, who had the OT winner after a very bad injury scare earlier, were the other two goal scorers in the win for the Devils. So Hughes goes from almost being injured earlier after he got pushed into the boards by Hathaway to gain the game winner for the New Jersey Devils. So it was a fantastic storyline there for Luke Hughes. As for the Philadelphia Flyers, Konechny had 2 assists, while Walker, Frost, and Forrester were the 3 goal scorers in the loss. So Flyers didn't do overly well, but they do fall down to 11-10-2. So they're just above 500 right now, so they're still not doing overly well. As for the Devils, they improved to 11-9-1. They tied the Philadelphia Flyers in points, and they look like they're doing pretty good so far right now. So great win there for the New Jersey Devils. They've won, I think, a couple of games now in a row, and they look a lot better. As for Philadelphia Flyers, it was a bad loss, but they still stay above 500, so that's good news there for Philadelphia. Then we had the Chicago Blackhawks take on the Detroit Red Wings, and after a solid 1-1 start to the game, the Detroit Red Wings took it over and absolutely dominate the Chicago Blackhawks. Detroit improved with 4 consecutive goals to beat the Chicago Blackhawks 5-1. It was a dominant performance there from the Detroit Red Wings to improve to 12-7-3, while dropping the Chicago Blackhawks down to 7-14-0. So I don't think this is too much of a surprise. Detroit, I don't think, is as good as the record seems, but I do think that the Hawks are not a very good team, and I do think that this was not much of a surprise for the Red Wings. Compher and Fabry both scored twice. Raymond and Wallman both had 2 assists, and Sherrod also scored for the Wings in the win, while Reichel was the lone goal scorer for the Blackhawks in the loss. So not great stuff there from the Blackhawks, who have now lost, I think, like 7 of their last 8 games or something like that. They're not doing overly well right now. They're not winning a lot of games. If I'm correct, they're like either tied or one of the lower teams in the NHL. So they don't look overly good right now, but they're supposed to be trying to get a high draft pick. So it's not overly surprising there, but the Hawks have not looked overly good to start the season. Detroit looks fantastic, 5 games above 500, really in the race for a playoff spot. They look fantastic. So great stuff there from the Detroit Red Wings. Then we had the Pittsburgh Penguins play the Tampa Bay Lightning, and this one was a really good game. Bolts were able to get up to 2-0 lead thanks to a couple of goals, when the Penguins would crawl their way back, tied at 2 before the second intermission, score an early third period goal, take a 3-2 lead, and then this goal here, with just a little bit of time left in the game, from Tristan Jarry, was able to ice the game. Jarry gets the first goalie goal we've had in a very long time, I think since last year at some point when Ullmark scored. So Jarry was absolutely phenomenal. We don't usually see goaltenders score goals. This was an absolutely fantastic goal for Jarry. It put the game at 4-2. It iced the game, and it gave the Penguins a 4-2 win. So not only do you not see a goalie goal very much in the NHL, and that was a fantastic stuff from Jarry, but also this iced the game, and the Penguins came back from 2-0 down to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-2. Penguins improved to 11-10-1, which is fantastic news for them. They continue to do all right after the 3-6-0 start, but for the Tampa Bay Lightning, they dropped to 10-9-5. I think they're on a 3-game losing streak, and even with Vasilevsky, they don't look like the Tampa Bay Lightning team of old. They are a decent team, and they're still in the playoff spot right now, but they're behind Toronto, Detroit, Florida, and Boston. So they're not looking overly good. They've also played more games than all four of those teams. It's not looking overly good right now for Tampa. I'm definitely not saying they're not going to make the playoffs, but they look a lot worse than they have in past years. So Bolts dropped to 10-9-5. They're still in the playoff spot, but they're not looking overly good, and they're on a 3-game losing streak. Penguins, with the win, improved to 11-10-1. They're still not on a playoff spot, but they're looking a lot better. They're playing a lot better than they were earlier in the season, and this was a really good win, and it was fantastic to see Jarry score an NHL goal. Then we had the Florida Panthers take on the Montreal Canadiens. This was another interesting game. The Panthers had a huge third period and came away with a 5-1 win over the Montreal Canadiens. They improved to 14-7-2, while they dropped the Montreal Canadiens to 10-11-2. So not overly surprising. The Panthers are a really good team, and they look fantastic right now. So they absolutely dominated the Montreal Canadiens. Verhaeghe, Rodriguez, and Barkov all had a goal and an assist, and Bennett and OEL also scored for the Panthers in the win, while Kovacevic was a lone goal scorer for Canadiens in the loss. So not overly surprising. Canadiens are not a fantastically great team this year, so they dropped down to back below 500. As for the Panthers, really good solid win there after a couple of losses over the past few games, and they were able to get back up, and they've now reached the 30-point plateau. They're one of the first teams to reach the 30-point plateau, joining Vancouver, Vegas, I think Colorado, New York and Boston as teams who have reached the 30-point plateau. So really good stuff there from Florida, and good to see that they're thriving even after they started out without their best two defensemen. Then we had the Maple Leafs take on the Seattle Kraken. This was a Mitch Marner show in Toronto. Marner was able to open the scoring and got a hat trick to keep the Leafs up to 3-1. But then the Kraken were tied up. It went to a shootout, and in the shootout, Marner got the shootout winner. So this was all Marner in this game, and he helped the Maple Leafs down the Seattle Kraken 4-3 in a shootout. Leafs improved to 12-6-3. They're not too far back of teams like Detroit and Florida. Meanwhile, the Kraken dropped down to 8-10-6, which is an overly great record. So a good win there for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Marner, like we said, hat-trick he had was fantastic in this game. Matthews had 2 assists, and then Marner and Matthews were 2 shootout scorers for the Leafs in the win. Meanwhile, for the Seattle Kraken, McCann scored twice, and Tolvanen also scored for the Kraken in the shootout loss. So not a great game there from the Kraken. They were able to be resilient and get a point out of this one, but so many times this year have they only been able to get a point or blew a lead to lose in regulation. The Kraken still don't look overly good, and they could definitely use an upgrade some positions. Leafs look fantastic. They're now up 6 games above 500, and they're still in the race for a top 3 spot in the Atlantic Division. So really good stuff there from Toronto. Then you had the Carolina Hurricanes in a really good back and forth game lose to the New York Islanders 5-4 in overtime. They were tied up with less than a second left in the regulation period, but then the Islanders will come back and win it in overtime. So a really good win there for the New York Islanders, who were able to improve to 9-7-6 on the season, dropping Carolina to 13-8-1. So this was a really good game there from the New York Islanders. For the Islanders, Barzal had a 4-point with a goal and 3 assists. Dobson had 3 assists. And Holmstrom, Horvat, Engvall, and Palmieri were the other goal scorers for the Islanders in the win. Meanwhile, for the Carolina Hurricanes, Stahl had a goal and an assist, while Drury, Chatfield, and Aho were the other 3 goal scorers in the Canes' loss. So it was not a great game there from the Carolina Hurricanes, and they could have definitely used some other things, but it was a good game there from the New York Islanders, who were able to escape with the victory. So both teams continue to do really well, Canes and Islanders, but the Islanders do close the gap between them and the Canes in the Metro Division. Then we had the Minnesota Wild win their 2nd straight game with John Hynes as head coach, and this was against John Hynes' former team. John Hynes helped the Minnesota Wild destroy the Nashville Predators 6-1. This was an absolute demolition game for the Minnesota Wild. The Wild have played a lot better since Hynes got back. They've outscored their opponents 9-2. They've won both games over the Blues and the Predators, so against division opponents. They look a lot better. For the Predators, that 6-game winning streak they had comes to an end, and they're back down to 500, 11-11-0. While the Wild improved to 7-10-4, they're only 3 games back of 500, so they're not doing overly bad here. For the Minnesota Wild, they had a really good game, and it was led by Connor DeWar. DeWar scored the first goal of the game, the 5th goal of the game, and this goal here, which was DeWar's first career NHL hat-trick. He scored the 6th goal of the game to complete his hat-trick and help the Minnesota Wild beat the Nashville Predators 6-1. So it was the last goal of the game, and DeWar was able to get his hat-trick. A fantastic game from Connor DeWar, who put up a hat-trick and a 4-point night with the 3 goals and the assist, so it was a really good showing there from DeWar. Kaprizov had a goal and the assist, and Maroon and Middleton also scored for the Wild in the win, so DeWar really led the charge offensively in this game. Meanwhile, Parson was a lone goal scorer for the Predators in the loss. So Preds winning streak comes to an end. We'll see how many games they can win afterwards, but they've gotten themselves back into the playoff race after starting 5-10-0. For the Wild, they're up to 7-10-4. They're now only at 18 points. They're only 3 games below 500. If they can continue to win what they have so far, they'll get themselves back in the playoff race. So really good stuff there from the Wild. Then we had the St. Louis Blues blow a 3-goal lead after opening the game up 3-0, and then they would recover and beat the Buffalo Sabres 6-4 with a huge win to improve to 12-9-1, dropping the Buffalo Sabres to 10-11-2. So this was a really good back and forth game. I thought for a little bit there, Buffalo's, after they came back to tie it at 3, might wind up winning this game, but it was St. Louis who winds up coming away with the huge victory. For the Blues, Shen had 3.9 with 2 goals and an assist. Neighbors scored twice. Hayes had a goal and an assist. Buchnevich and Cairo had 2 assists, and Saad also scored for the Blues in the win. Well, for the Buffalo Sabres, Dahlin, Benson, and Krebs all had a goal and an assist. Cousins had 2 assists, and Peterka also scored for our Sabres in the loss. So in this game, it was not a really great defensive performance from the Buffalo Sabres. They definitely need to really start to defend a lot better. Pekka Luukkonen was really good earlier in the game, but definitely it was not overly fantastic. They definitely need some defensive upgrades, in my opinion. They're not doing overly well. They're doing all right, but they're not doing overly well. Good game for the St. Louis Blues after losing back-to-back games to keep themselves 3 games above 500. It was definitely an offensive performance there that was good. They did not do overly well defensively, and they did let Buffalo come back in this game. So I'm still quite concerned about St. Louis and how they can continue to keep up their pace in the wildcard spot long term. But still, they're doing overly good right now, and they're improved to 12-9-1. So a really good game there from the Blues. Then we had the Edmonton Oilers take on the Winnipeg Jets. Jets were up 1-0 for most of this game, but in the third period, the Oilers would tie it, the Oilers would take a lead, and then the Oilers would get the insurance marker as the Oilers come back with 3 straight goals in the third period to beat the Winnipeg Jets 3-1. Oilers improve with their 4th straight win to 9-12-1 record, while the Jets drop to 12-8-2. McLeod had a goal and an assist for the Oilers. Nurse and Draisaitl also scored for the Oilers in the win, while Perfetti was the lone goal scorer for the Jets in the loss. So not a great game there from the Jets. I think they've lost like 3 straight now. They're down to 12-8-2. They're not doing overly fantastic right now. They're losing low-scoring, close games, so it's not like they're doing overly bad, and Hellebuck's keeping them in games, but they are not being able to get the win at this point in time. So really good win there for the Oilers. They've now won 4 straight. I'm still not convinced that the Oilers are back. They blew a 2-goal lead against the Golden Knights, did win, but they wasn't a shootout when it should have really been in regulation. They are able to come back and beat Winnipeg. Their goaltending was definitely a lot better in this game. And then they beat 2 teams who are in the bottom 10 in goal scoring in Anaheim and Washington. So their next game is going to be against the Carolina Hurricanes team on Wednesday. That's going to be an interesting game, but if they are able to win that game, maybe you can start to be convinced that the Edmonton Oilers are back. I'm not exactly sure if they're still going to be a whole bunch better, but I do think they'll be a little bit better. So it'll be interesting to see, but the Oilers have now won 4 straight and are slowly working their way back into the playoff mix. The Calgary Flames were able to come from behind and beat the Dallas Stars. They were down 3-2, scored a late game-tying goal in the third period, and wound up winning in overtime to get the win over the Dallas Stars. Really big win there for Calgary. Flames improved to 10-10-3, dropping the Stars to 13-5-3. So the Flames, for a second time in the last week, have now beaten the Stars. For Calgary, Huberdeau had 2 assists, and Kadri, who had the OT winner. Tanev, Weegar, and Hanifin were the other 4 goal scorers for the Flames in the win, while Marchment scored twice and Harley also scored for the Stars in the OT loss. So not a great game there from Dallas. They definitely kept into this game really, really well. There was a 3-2 lead that they wound up blowing, but they do get a point out of this one, so it's not overly bad for the Stars. For the Calgary Flames, really good, resilient win. They continue to find ways to win. Over the stretch of games they said was going to be pretty tough for them, they're 3-1-0. They beat the Stars twice, once in regulation, once in overtime. overtime. They beat the Knights in a shootout, and then they also lost in Colorado Avalanche in regulation. This stretch of games they said was going to be hard for them ends tonight against the Vancouver Canucks. If they can beat them and go 4-1-0, maybe I can start to be convinced that this team is now changing. But they did make a trade recently. Sort of means that they're starting to sort of try and retool this team. So it'll be interesting to see, but they are really in the playoff race right now, and they get a huge one against Dallas. Then you had the Arizona Coyotes in a really good back and forth game, beat the Colorado Avalanche 4-3 in overtime. Fantastic win there for the Arizona Coyotes. They improved to 11-9-2, 3 straight wins over the last 3 Stanley Cup final winners. Meanwhile, the Colorado Avalanche dropped to 15-6-1. So for the Coyotes, Schmalz, Carcioni, Bjugstad, the OT winner, and Boyd were the 4 goal scorers for the Coyotes in the win, while McCarr had a goal and an assist, Rannon had 2 assists, and Wooden McKinnon also scored for the Avalanche in the loss. So this was a really good game, really good back and forth action, good stuff from both sides, but was the Coyotes who come away with the victory. 3 straight wins now, they improved to 11-9-2, they're in a playoff spot, so Coyotes are doing overly well right now. For the Colorado Avalanche at 15-6-1. They're not doing overly well, but they keep their lead in the Central Division. They got a point on the Winnipeg Jets, and they also got the same amount of points as the Dallas Stars. So very good stuff there for the Avalanche to keep ahead of the other teams in the Central. For the Washington Capitals, they would score 3 unanswered after a 2-2 game, and would hold on for a 5-4 victory over the Anaheim Ducks to improve to 12-6-2 at the 20-game mark, while the Ducks dropped to 9-14-0. Ducks, if I'm correct now, lost 7 straight, which is not overly great news for them. For the Capitals, Wilson had a hat trick. Ovechkin and Carlson both had 2 assists, and Dowd and Mantha both also scored for the Capitals in the win, while Tristan Luneau scored his first career NHL goal and also had an assist, and Brett Liaison also had a goal and an assist, and Brock McGinn and Frank Vetrano also scored for the Ducks in the loss. So Ducks had a really good offensive showing here, but it was not enough to dethrone the Capitals. Caps improved to 26 points. They continue to climb the Metro standings, and they're not too far out of first place. So really good stuff there from the Capitals. Then for the Golden Knights and the Vancouver Canucks in the battle for top spot in the Pacific Division, the Golden Knights were able to get the lead and were able to hold on for the victory. The Knights were able to get up to a 4-0 lead, including this goal here, the second of the game for the Golden Knights from Jack Eichel, would put them up 2-0 at that point. They would score 2 more goals to get a 4-0 lead and would hold on for a 4-1 victory over the Vancouver Canucks. The Knights improved to 15-5-4, while the Canucks dropped to 15-8-1. So really good stuff there from the Knights. Eichel had 3.0 with a goal and 2 assists. Barbashev had a goal and an assist. Pietrangelo had 2 assists, and Carlson and Howden also scored for the Knights in the win. Well, for the Canucks, Kuzmenko was the lone goal scorer for them. So it was definitely just a matter of the Golden Knights players were a lot better in this game than the Canucks players. Really close game, but it was the Knights to lose, and the Knights do wind up winning this one. So huge win there for the Knights who keep the Pacific Division crown. Well, for the Canucks, they lose and drop, and they're only 1 point ahead of the LA Kings. Those are all the games from 2 days ago, the 14 games that happened on Thursday. There were only 2 games that happened yesterday. We'll get to those 2 here. The Senators will open it up with a 2-0 lead, but then 4 straight goals from Columbus Blue Jackets will give them a 4-2 lead, and they would hold on for a 4-2 victory over the Ottawa Senators. Jackets improved to 8-13-4, while the Sens dropped down to 8-10-0. So after coming back from Sweden at 8-7-0, they've now lost 3 straight. The Sens don't look overly good. The Frans want a coaching change. It'll be interesting to see what happens for Ottawa. As for the Columbus Blue Jackets, another win after starting out, I think it was 5-12-4 or something. They've done one 3 or 4 in the last 5 games. So they look fantastic, and the Jackets look like a much different team. For Columbus, Werenski and Goudreau both had 2 assists, while Voronkov, Fantilli, Laine, and Jenner were the other 4 goal scorers for the Jackets in the win. While for the Senators, Kachuk had a goal and an assist, and Giroux was the other goal scorer in the loss. So not a great showing there from the Ottawa Senators. The Jackets are able to score 4 unanswered and win, so they huge win there for the Jackets. And then San Jose Sharks were able to double up the New Jersey Devils 6-3 to improve to 6-16-2, dropping the Devils to 11-10-1. The Devils had some bad stuff on the injury front with their defense, so they're definitely playing short-handed in this game, thanks to suspension to Smith and injury to Hamilton, so not great stuff there for the Devils. For the Sharks, Granlund had 3.0 with a goal and 2 assists. McDonald and Duclair both scored twice, while Eklund also scored for the Sharks in the win. And for the Devils, Simon Nemec, who was called up to replace Hamilton and Smith, was able to get into his first game of NHL action, scored his first 2 career NHL points, both assists in the loss. So Nemec had 2 assist nights, and then Platt, Mercer, and Jack Hughes were the other 3 goal scorers for Devils in the loss. So not a great showing there from the Devils. Definitely they could have done a little bit better, but good stuff there from the San Jose Sharks, who do improve their record. So really good stuff there, but those are all of your game previews from the past couple of days. Going over to the only team who's hit the 20-game mark over the past couple of days, and that's the Washington Capitals. At the 20-game mark, the Capitals are 12-6-2 for 26 points, 51 goals for, 55 goals against, a -4 rating. The only player who's had 14 or more points at the 20-game mark is Alex Ovechkin, who has 5 goals, 9 assists, and 14 points, on pace for 58 points. So definitely, the Caps don't have a lot of good goal scorers in this season, and their defense is definitely holding themselves in games, as shown by their points differential. They're -4, but they have 26 points. So definitely going to be interesting to see how they finish out, but Caps at this point in time are looking really good. And looking at the Western Conference standings at the 20-game mark, you can definitely see how good it is. Remember, usually 80% of teams in the playoffs at the 20-game mark wind up making the playoffs. If you look at the Central Division, the Avalanche are first in the Central with 28 points, followed by second in the Central, Dallas at 28 points, and third in the Central, Winnipeg at 26 points. The two wildcard teams in the Western Conference will both come from the Central Division. That's 23-point St. Louis Blues and the 20-point Nashville Predators. And then the 20-point Arizona Coyotes, 16-point Minnesota Wild, and 14-point Chicago Blackhawks would all miss the playoffs. Meanwhile, in the Pacific Division, the 30-point Golden Knights are first in the Pacific, the 29-point Kings are second in the Pacific, the 26-point Canucks are third in the Pacific. Then the teams who also miss the playoffs will be the 19-point Flames, 19-point Kraken, 18-point Ducks, 15-point Oilers, and 8-point Sharks. So definitely, it's not overly surprising that these teams are not doing overly good at the start of the season. Could the Edmonton Oilers make the playoffs after starting out below 500 at the 20-game mark? Same thing with Calgary, same thing with Seattle, same thing with Arizona. Could any of those teams make it? And if they do make it, is a team like Nashville or St. Louis going to be a team who's bumped out of the playoffs? But definitely, love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. But those are the 20-game mark review. Going over to a couple of game previews for the next couple of days. We have 13 games today on Saturday. We have 5 games on Sunday and then 6 games on Monday. So today at 11 a.m. Pacific time, the Tampa Bay Lightning take on the Dallas Stars. Bolts looking to end their losing streak. Stars looking to get back up to above the point total of the Avalanche right now. At 12 p.m. Pacific time, the Hawks play the Jets. Jets looking to improve in the Central Division. Hawks looking to avoid yet another loss. At 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, we have the Rangers taking on the Predators. This is going to be an interesting game. Preds looking to get another win after having their 6-game winning streak end. Rangers looking to keep ahead of every other team for the lead in the Eastern Conference. At 3 p.m. Pacific time, the Islanders take on the Panthers. Islanders looking to hit double-digit wins, while the Panthers look to keep ahead of teams like Detroit and Toronto for first in the Atlantic Division. Then at 4 p.m. Pacific time, the Sabres take on the Carolina Hurricanes. Sabres looking to get back up to 500. Carolina looking to keep ahead of teams like Washington, NYI, and Philly for second in the Metro Division. The Detroit Red Wings take on the Montreal Canadiens. Red Wings looking to keep pace with Florida, Boston, looking to keep ahead of Toronto for top 3 spot in the Atlantic, while Montreal's looking to get back up to 500. The Seattle Kraken take on the Ottawa Senators. Kraken looking to improve to within 1 game of 500. Same thing with the Senators. Both teams are within 1 game of 500, so both teams will be looking to do that. We have the Battle of Pennsylvania between the Pens and the Flyers. Both teams looking to avoid going back down to 500. Then we have a battle between the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Bruins looking to get another win. Leafs looking to close the gap between them and the Bruins. At 6 p.m. Pacific time, we have the Blues taking on the Coyotes. It's the 4th time these two teams have played this season. Coyotes look for a season split in the series. Blues look to win the season series. Then at 7 p.m. Pacific time, we have the Avs taking on the Ducks. Avalanche looking to keep ahead of Dallas and Winnipeg. Anaheim looking to end their losing streak. We have the Canucks taking on the Flames. Flames looking to get yet another win over one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Canucks looking to rebound after a bad loss to Vegas. And then Vegas takes on Washington. Washington looking to beat the Golden Knights for a second time in the last couple of weeks. Knights looking to improve their record in the Pacific Division. So we got a couple of things there. Tomorrow, there are 5 games. 11 a.m. Pacific time, you have the Wild taking on the Hawks. Both teams looking for a much-needed win. At 3 p.m. Pacific time, you have the Sharks taking on the Rangers. Sharks looking to improve to yet another win, 4th in the last 5 games. Rangers looking to keep ahead of teams like Boston for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. Jackets play Bruins for a second time in a week. Jackets look for their second win over the Bruins. Bruins look to improve in the Atlantic Division. Preds take on the Sabres. Sabres looking to improve possibly above 500 at this point. Predators looking to keep pace in the Central Division. And then the Avalanche take on the Kings at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Kings looking to keep pace in the Pacific Division. Avalanche looking to keep ahead of teams like Dallas and Winnipeg. Then on Monday, there are 6 games. The Battle of Pennsylvania happens again, as well as Dallas and Tampa at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Dallas will look for another win to improve their record and close in on Colorado. Both Pittsburgh and Philadelphia will look for back-to-back wins against each other. The Kraken will take on the Canadiens. Kraken looking to improve their record. Canadiens looking to possibly avoid going below 500 again. Then you have the Canes take on the Jets at 4:30 as well. Canes looking to improve their record. Jets looking to keep pace in the Central. Then you have the Caps take on the Coyotes. Both teams looking to keep their surprising starts going. And then the Blues take on the Golden Knights. Knights looking for another win. Blues looking to keep pace in the Central. So it'll be interesting to see how all of those games go. Quick look at the standings here. As of right now, the Boston Bruins lead the Atlantic Division with 33 points, followed by 30-point Florida and 27-point Toronto. Then you have 33-point NYR leading the Metro Division, followed by 27-point Carolina and 26-point Washington. 27-point Detroit and 25-point Tampa are the two teams in a playoff spot, followed by 24-point NYI and Philadelphia, 23-point Pittsburgh and New Jersey, 22-point Buffalo and Montreal, and 20-point Columbus and 16-point Ottawa. So those teams are all following in the footsteps of the Tampa Bay Lightning for the last playoff spot. Then you have 31-point Colorado leading the Central Division, followed by 29-point Dallas and 26-point Winnipeg. 34-point Vegas leads the Pacific Division, followed by 31-point Vancouver and 29-point LA. Then 25 points St. Louis, 24-point Arizona are in a playoff spot, followed by 23-point Calgary, 22-point Nashville, 22-point Seattle, 19-point Edmonton, 18-point Minnesota, 18-point Anaheim, 14-point Chicago, and 14-point San Jose. So definitely, those are all of your teams who are out of the playoffs right now. So definitely, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all this down in the comments. What do you think about the 20-game mark? Are you surprised that any of those teams are in the playoffs at the 20-game mark for the Western Conference? Are you surprised Washington's at 26 points at 20-game mark? What games have you liked in the past couple of days? And what games are you most looking forward to going into the next couple of days? Definitely, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all this down in the comments. So that's all I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video, and if you're like to subscribe down below. We're so close to 200 subscribers. Thank you for all of your support. I'll never be able to do this without you guys, so don't forget to subscribe. I also do a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so definitely check that out. Leave it in the description below, and I can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.